The question we're going to be talking about today is, what have you learnt from your audience feedback? The first sub-question we're going to answer is thinking about our audience research and how that helps shape our initial ideas.
What our audience research did was it gave us the external and primary data that we needed to let us know what the audience would actually want for our music video.
Yeah, an example of that is when we went on YouGov, which is a website that looks at the demographics of different types of products. We found out that the audience of our genre, which is alternative hip hop, is actually 16 to 24 year olds, when we believed it to be slightly higher. So therefore we changed this with both the actor, as we used a younger actor, Little Ghost, and then with the clothing we chose a yellow hoodie because it's very vibrant and bright and it screams out like youth. In addition to that, with our location, as 16 to 24 year olds quite young and youthful, we chose to use a roof and like industrial areas, as these are quite
we thought these could relate to our audience interests and stuff, because they're quite a lot of like the adolescent audience is quite, they generally live in like industrial areas, so
what also we learnt from it is that that our audience is quite rebellious, so we believe these locations help establish this.
We also made a survey on the site called SurveyMonkey, which allowed us to receive feedback from members of our target audience, and this would include things such as what to include in our video, for example what they like in music videos and what they don't like, and also what style of music video and examples, just so we could kind of piece that all together to make our idea more appealing.
We really implemented that in our style of editing. We wanted to go across quite quirky. An example of how we use this is one of the shots where Little Ghost is on the building and he's walking across and it's panning. We edited it so it goes along, reverses it and walks along again, which you don't see much in other styles of music videos.
Yeah, we like Dylan said, we use this because it's kind of like a quirky kind of thing, so it again appeals to our target audience, and it also kind of links back to our genre of alternative hip hop. This is kind of like an abstract, unconventional thing to do, but then it's conventional within our genre.
Yeah, it's also very effective in illustrating these that star image.
Yeah.
Another one of the more popular things was to focus on the narrative of the video, which we improved by including more segments, such as the beginning or the lead into the video, where our character's having a nightmare which he wakes up from, which is kind of the basis for everything going forward.
Yeah, we always lead back to that nightmare scene, but from the feedback we received, we only utilised 1 or 2 different colours in them nightmare scenes, so therefore we worked on that and made it a lot more interesting with the different as we cut back to the nightmare scenes. We started using different colours, and Little Ghost used different emotions, so as the video progressed he started getting happier, which leads on to the narrative, as it shows as he's going through his day he's establishing himself more.
Yeah.
Also, we from this therefore we decided to use some GoPro shots, which you can see in the music video, and figure shots, which are in the underground tunnel.
The next little sub-question is to think back to our initial pitch and what the feedback from that did to help us with our product.
So we found that from the animatic it came across as quite disjointed. This then allowed us to like look at why that kind of came across and like develop our narrative a bit more, so it was a little bit less disjointed than it was. I think initially we had like just the idea of him being in like random locations and there was no like explanation given, but we kind of altered that so he was like, as he was walking around as he was walking around on his day, he the locations kind of linked to each other, and you could kind of see that they were similar, rather than him just like popping up at different places.
Because of the animatic, we could clearly see the sequence of our music video. So obviously it wasn't the final product, but we kind of had the idea of what it looked like. This helped a lot when we got our feedback because people saw what it would look like. So that's led on from what Devon said.
Yeah.
So how we can change the narrative and make our concept clearer, because if you couldn't get the concept of our animatic, you couldn't develop it in the actual final product. So before filming, we changed these and added in more shots of interactions with the people in grey to make it more clear, and also the nightmare shots we included a lot more.
So the third question is, what feedback did you receive on your animatic from your audience, and how did that shape your product? So pretty much the feedback we got from our audience, that our animatic came across as like a little bit disjointed, but it didn't sync up. So because of that, we kind of strive to make our music video a little bit more like naturally flowing in like terms of narrative progression. They'd just be in one place and then they'd just like be in a totally different location just out of the blue. And so what we did to solve that is we like introduced a thing where our locations kind of linked with one another, and it was kind of like as our artist was going through the day in the music video, they kind of travelled to all these different locations. So it was more like, it seemed more natural when the whole thing was done.
The animatic helped put all of our storyboards into an actual sequence, which helped us see an overview of our whole music video and how it looked like. So therefore we got, from the feedback we got, people saw that it wasn't clear with our narrative in the sequence that we put it in, and also that some things were missing out. So after that we decided to include more of the nightmare shots, which you can see in the music video.
Yeah.
And also we decided to include more of the interactions, because people didn't understand that Little Ghost was in yellow and everyone that he interacts with was in grey.
Yeah.
So therefore, by including more of our interaction shots, it made it clearer and emphasised the grey costume they're wearing, and that in contrast to that, Little Ghost is wearing a yellow jumper.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that kind of linked back to like supporting our start image as well as being like the only one. So the feedback we actually got from like it being there not being enough interactions helped us not just add more interactions to make it a better video overall, but also just like portray our start image like better.
And because it was feedback from our audience, they're the people that are going to actually be viewing our product.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're given direct feedback, which aids their viewing experience.
For our peers, when they watched our music video, there was a few things that we could change, like the narrative, because it makes sense if a new audience member was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the drama room where we filmed the nightmare shots, they needed to be more structured, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. And
Yeah.
also we need to include more colours.
Yeah. So when our peers reviewed it, they generally enjoyed it, but they didn't understand like the significance of the drama location shots. So it was like, it was kind of just like, again, it was just kind of like there were random shots placed within for no significant reason.
I don't think we would have recognised that without them viewing it.
Yeah. So
Because
what
we
we
gave
did,
a biased view of our.
what we did to like support that was we added more in, but we added a shot. This was during like the construction phase, where we actually had me looking in the mirror, and then it cut to a drama shot, kind of like the artist was reflecting back on what he just like.
It still shows
thought about.
Because normally after you have a nightmare, you forget about it through the day, but
Yeah.
that stuck with him because that nightmare was about him being lonely.
Yeah.
So it really shows because he's looking in a reflection of himself, and when he looks at himself, he sees the
somebody
nightmare
lonely.
of him being
Yeah.
lonely.
So definitely, like, our peer review definitely helped enforce our narrative.
I feel like that shot on its own kind of just helped link together the two scenes for the audience,
Yeah.
because in the animatic there wasn't really any link between
no
the nightmare.
context
It just
between
kind
them,
of
yeah.
popped up whenever.
Yeah.
So just having him looking back on it kind of just lets the audience know that it is related in a
Yeah,
more
and then-
significant way.
Then, so all the following shots in the drama room kind of, like, so from what George said, it kind of just always related back to that initial shot. So our audience was then, upon further peer review, our audience then, like, knew what was going on, and there was actually, like, a recurring nightmare. So
And from getting a review from the expertise from the same field that we were doing in the same music video, they kind of had different creative ideas which they helped us implement into our music video. So little tweaks which they told us, which actually had a significant difference.
So, next question. What about feedback on your ancillaries? How did this help shape our product?
The main thing that we were told about our ancillaries was that we needed more synergy between both of the products, because at the beginning we kind of had cool ideas but they weren't linked to the music video all that much.
Yeah.
They
So
weren't related really that
yeah,
much.
so
Yeah.
we decided at the end to have basically the whole Digipack and advertisement be about the yellow hoodie. It was centered around
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
that was very ironic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely used the yellow hoodie as like a motif throughout
And also
all
we
of it.
grayscaled everything else.
Yeah.
To further emphasise the yellow hoodie.
Yeah, so that also furthered our like this like image, this star image we were putting across, but it also like linked back to our music video at the same time, because we used the same editing technique within our video of like grayscale and some other things to make it seem more drab. So yeah, it kind of did two things simultaneously.
Can I take on from you?
Yeah, go on.
Well, Lincoln from Devlin, we also synergised with the fonts. In the beginning of the music video, after Little Ghost wakes up from a nightmare, we have the title of the song and the artist pop up, and also the record label. So we synergised that between all of our ancillary tasks. So we had the same font for the title, Surrounded, and for Little Ghost, which shows more of a link and kind of creates a brand. So for future products, if viewers see the same font, they'll link that to Little Ghost,
Yeah.
which was effective.
That leads well on to the next question, which is, why is audience feedback important in the real world? And so I thought that obviously audience feedback is good for actual artists, because it
It gives
And-
you a chance to improve.
it allows them to develop any like future products that they're working on. And obviously your audience is, as an artist, is what you're trying to like appeal to. It's like your main goal, I'd say, as an art. Obviously, like, other than creating the art, but yeah, so within our work, I think all of this feedback from like peers, teachers, for the animatic, for the pitch, in a similar way, it kind of allowed for us to develop all of our ideas, not just the music video, but also the ancillary products, so that everything had the same kind of feel to it. So everything that we've discussed, like the grayscale and the repeated use of the yellow hoodie, we were able to kind of use the same types of mise en scène and stuff like that